Walter Matthau had come to see Tarot, unbeknownst to me, because he apparently was whisked away right after the show. He had to get to an airplane to go to Europe to do a movie, and he didn't have time to come back and tell me how much he loved that play. It was a few years later, when I was visiting my mother in Mill Valley, that he happened to be doing a film with Carol Burnett in downtown Mill Valley. And I walked into town, and Walter looked over the crowd. He was a very tall guy. Looked over the crowd, and he recognized me without my white face, and he yelled out, "Rubber duck, come over here!" And everyone was like, "What?" They thought he had lost his marbles. Rubber duck. Anyway, I put like, "Me? Yes, you, come here, you know." So I went over there, and Martin Ritt was the director of this movie that he was doing. And he says, "I've been wanting to tell you about your play." He said, "Come with me." So we walked behind the fire department, and he said, "You know, your play was incredible. You had some of the kabuki influence and the no plays." And he said there was such a universal quality to your play. And he says the mystical symbolism was incredibly accurate. He said, "How did you come about this play? I mean, it's incredible. How can I help you, you know, in your endeavor?" And I said, "Wow, I had no idea you even saw the play. Thank you, you know." I said, "Well, I wrote a screenplay of Tarot, and I sent it to Charlie Chaplin, Sir Charlie Chaplin in Europe, but I haven't heard anything back, so I don't know if he's read it or whatever." He says, "I'll get him to read it." He says, "Better yet, I'll get him to send for you." I went, "What? Are you kidding me?" For me, it's like, you know, the idea of that is like visiting God, you know. It's way beyond idol. It's like, he was the man. I guess it was about a year later, a messenger comes to my door with a round-trip ticket and a letter from Charlie Chaplin, which you will see a still of in this film, inviting me to come see him in Vevey, Switzerland. And so I did. Charlie Chaplin, once I proved myself, because he was not friendly when I first came. I had to perform for him, and I was already extremely nervous, but to perform for Charlie Chaplin, a command performance with no other audience, was extraordinary for me. So once I proved myself to him, he was enamored, and I was only supposed to spend an hour with him. As it was, I spent 11 hours with him, because we were both so engrossed in each other. But the conversation, in essence, was he talked about what he called the ultimate movie. And I said, "Well, what is the ultimate movie?" I mean, I thought Gold Rush was pretty close to what I would consider the ultimate movie. And he said, "Thank you." He said, "That's one of my favorite movies that I made." He said, "But in my day, the camera was just a box with lenses, you know. All the magic had to be in front of the camera. And we had to depend on optical illusions to create any magic." He said, "But your day, technology has caught up with us. And, you know, you can further this." He said, "The ultimate movie," and I quote him because the words are burned in my brain and my soul, "the ultimate movie has to mean something personal to everyone on the face of the earth, no matter what their culture, religion, age, creed, color, didn't matter." He said, it has to mean something personal to everyone all over the world. So therefore, the work has to have minimal dialogue and consummate music. I told him about when I was a child, that I had a crazy mother, and he kind of related to that because he too had a crazy mother, and perhaps that was one of the reasons that we both were on the trail that we were, was because we needed refuge away from the insanity. I told him I hadn't talked till I was 6. He related to that, you know. the fact that I was reflecting and imitating everything. I didn't know what art I was doing as a child. I was just doing it. And finally, my mother and some of her friends brought me to see City Lights. Apparently, according to my mother, I was so enthralled with that movie that I went up to the front of the movie theater and put my head on the stage and just tranced out. And after the movie, they decided they wanted to go for some food. And now I'm talking in volumes. And they're all looking at me like, Joey, we thought you couldn't talk. Why didn't you speak? And I looked at them very soberly and said, almost like an adult, I had nothing to say. And they went, oh, okay.